the game was different, right? The rules was different. The ball was different.
The Euro style is different in America.
The Euro style was a lot different than America.
That's the first time y'all seen that Euro step too, huh?
Absolutely.
Hi, my name's Jade. I'm from England and I went to Northeast Community College in Nebraska for 2 years and University of Sioux Falls in South Dakota for 1 year, and I recently left.
Beautiful. Nice to have you with us today, Jade. Thanks for coming out. You know, very, very privileged to have you with us today, especially seeing you from a tiny Jade to a slightly bigger Jade to a Jade that's, you know, I wouldn't say taller than me, but, you know, just a little bit, you know, on the higher end of the scale. Why did you choose to go to America to study and play ball?
Well, when I was at Seven Oaks, it was kind of what the other girls were doing, and I thought, oh, may as well look into it. Maybe I can make it. And then I just kind of went with it. It was just one of those things where it's either I'm going to do it now, I'm going to actually have a chance to play basketball, or I'm never going to have this chance again. So I decided to take my step when I could, and I'm glad I did it. I had good times out there.
Okay, and why did you choose Nebraska? How and why did you choose Nebraska?
It was really hard to get a scholarship, especially when you're not one of the big names that GB basketball promote a lot. I was never one of the ones that everyone knew. I was only one that some people knew. So it was harder to get that help, you know what I mean? Like to find a school, and Northeast was the school that offered me a full scholarship to go play, and I was not going to turn that down. It was something that free university to play basketball and get a degree. It's like the perfect situation for me to be in.
Okay, and what was your recruitment process like?
Difficult. I didn't have help, so I did everything on my own. So what I did was I went on Wikipedia and I got a list of all the schools, all the NCAA schools, all the NJCAA schools, and I emailed every coach. I just went through the list and just emailed everyone, and I think I emailed over 100 schools and I maybe got 3 replies.
Oh wow.
So it's hard, and if you know people will use them, but I didn't really have those contacts at that time, and I went it alone and somehow managed to get there. But you just have to persevere through it because it will be rough.
Oh man, so you know, when Northeast contacted or reached out to you, what was that process like?
Oh, it was just like, finally, like everything I've been doing has paid off to get this. And Coach Sveiler at Northeast is an amazing coach, and I'm so thankful to have him, you know, to be part of my life and how to get through my career with basketball. Like, if I didn't have him, I wouldn't be in the States. I wouldn't have gone at all because I wouldn't have had anywhere to go.
What was the process in terms of you getting there? Did you go and do a visit? Did the coach, you know, how did you get that connection with the coach in terms of what he wanted from you, and did it fit the program? Okay,
so I didn't visit physically because it's expensive and I can't afford it. So I Skyped him quite a lot, and he took me round the school and throughout the campus on Skype, and he sent me a whole video that they made specifically for international students to see what the school's like. And then he put me in contact with the international advisors at the school, and they're great. All of them know exactly what they're doing. They know when, like, all the visas and stuff, it gets a bit complicated, but they're really good at helping. And they told me all about how I would apply for a visa, how I'd get this. And it was just lots of input from people who know what they're doing, and it was really helpful. Even though I didn't visit, I felt like that school was going to be a good fit. And he showed, obviously I spoke to some of the girls, he put us all in contact with each other, like put in contact with my roommate, and I'm still friends with my roommates to this day. So it's just one of those things that it was really helpful.
Nice. And then what about the style of play? How did that connect in terms of what he wanted from, you know, a new recruit and what you had to offer?
So at the time when I was playing, I was more of a 3-4. And I went there and I was put in the 4 spot, which is what I was kind of expecting, because I am 6'1", and I wasn't gonna expect to be guard when there's all these other 5'10" guards who are quicker than me. But I was a big who could shoot and who could also run the floor. So it fit in with their style was fast paced. They like to run the floor, and they also don't like having a true 5 in. They preferred, like, the bigs had to be able to shoot. And like the other big I played with a lot, she was more of a pure post, played back to basket, but we kind of had that connection. So it all kind of fit into each other. So we would know when to go where, kind of thing. Like, it just kind of, you kind of build out that bond at college. It's just how it goes.
Okay, fair enough. Beautiful. There you go. Okay. And that situation, was it a full scholarship? Was it a partial scholarship? What did it depend on your grades? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I was offered full scholarship without flights. So the only thing I had to pay for the whole year was my flights to and from. Okay. And so they paid for my school books, like the textbooks I was required to use. Every credit hour I was there, my dorm room I was staying in, the food, meal plans, they paid for everything.
Awesome.
Except the flights. And it was just, one of those things which I couldn't turn down.
Okay, and did your academics play a part in it as well? So speaking to a lot of players recently, they've explained that some of them have had partial athletic and partial academic, just kind of giving them the full ride. Did your grades play a part in that any at all? No,
I was full athletic scholarship. Both years I was there, and he usually gave out full ride athletic to those who were international. We had quite a few internationals on our team, and those who were not international had a partial athletic, partial academic. So we were really good. It was a really good JUCO for academic wise as well, and I ended up doing really well there and did graduate. So
okay, awesome. And then when you left, where did you leave to?
Pardon?
I said, when you left Nebraska, where did you go?
Sioux Falls, South Dakota, about 2 hours north.
Okay, and what was that like? Tell us about that recruitment process.
I wanted to try and stay in the Midwest. I like the area. I like the fact that there's winter and then there's summer. It's quite a big dramatic difference. And I knew that the NSIC was a really good conference for Div 2 level. And Sioux Falls was a really great basketball school. It was amazing. Like, they won tournaments. They went to the NCAA tournament, as we did last year. And it was just like, it was one of the only schools I could go visit because it was within 2 hours and I had someone willing to drive me.
Okay, so it was more, so would you say it was more convenience or more like suited to you? Was it more tailored? Or it was a bit of
both. It was convenient to go visit there, but I was speaking to a school in Texas, but I couldn't afford the flight down and I didn't have much time left because school was ending and my flight was booked to go home. And it was just kind of a bit of a rushed last minute trying to go visit schools while I was still out in the States instead of being home.
Take us through that experience when you was in South Dakota.
It was a very different environment. JUCO is for those who work hard individually and on their own time. And it's a very underdog mindset and you have to grind to get anywhere from JUCO because it's hard because you're going up against people who are freshmen who have got 4 years of eligibility left. When you're just sophomore going to junior, you've only got 2 years left. So you've got to be twice as good for those 2 years than this one player can be for 4 years. So you have to be already at that stage where you can have impact in the team you're going to. So when I went to Sioux Falls, I thought, oh yeah, I can really impact it here. They don't have a post like me. Their posts are big back to basket people. They may not be tall, but they're more back to basket. However, when I got to Sioux Falls, it was a bit of a different situation. I did appreciate everything they did and the coach was amazing and everything, but it's just different to what I thought I was going to be doing. I was promised this, that, and the other. However, what many coaches do, and it's not just this school, it was tons of schools, they try and sell it to you more because they want you there. They're going to pay for you to be there, but you may sit on the bench for the whole year just because you're a good name to have. It's one of those things, and it ended up not working out for me. And I'm not saying it's not going to work out for anyone, just I didn't feel like I could be there another year. So it was one of those things. But Sioux Falls I really enjoyed. I got to do some amazing things with some amazing people, and the coaches were lovely off court and on court. It was just a bit more intense because it was a different, obviously it's a step up from JUCO as well. So from JUCO Div 1 to NCAA Division 2 is a big jump, and I was not prepared for that jump, I don't think.
So, okay, and that's great. That leads me straight into my next question. What's the biggest difference, or what are the differences between JUCO and D2?
JUCO is very every man for themselves, I'd say, because you're fighting against all these other players to get scholarships for four-year schools. D2 is faster paced, it is harder, players are bigger, players are stronger, you train harder, you train more than once, you can train up to 3 times a day, you'll lift 3 times a week minimum, you'll do conditioning at 6 a.m. on a Friday, like things that you didn't do at JUCO, well the JUCO I went to at least, you'll do at D2, and you have to be prepared for it mentally, otherwise it drains you, because no one wants to get up at 6 a.m. and run sprints. No one wants to lift at 7 a.m. in the morning before you've got 4 classes in that day. No one wants to do it. It sucks, but you have to do it. It's a whole different mentality.
Okay. I like that take on it in terms of understanding the difference. And as far as I understand, and from what others have been saying, is that I guess it's a bit more, not saying that JUCO isn't professional, but it's a lot more professional, like when you go to a D1 or a D2, D3, it's like a lot more like regimented and structured and stuff.
So D2s obviously have more money than JUCOs. They're bigger, they draw bigger crowds, you know what I mean? So they had the opportunity to hire, at my JUCO, I had a head coach, an assistant coach, and a athletic trainer. And that athletic trainer was for all sports teams at my JUCO. And we didn't, and then I go to this D2, I have a head coach, 2 assistant coaches, one's a post coach, one's a guard coach. I have 2 strength and conditioning coaches. I have at least 7 athletic trainers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for one, like almost, it was one between like 3 or 4 sports. They do 3 or 4 sports each. And it was just bigger. Everything was more advanced. We do different types of training. And like at JUCO, I do the same lift twice a week. And we'd switch between 5 exercises. But then we get to D2 and I did 3 lifts, 3 times a week, conditioning after every lift. There was a football stadium, so we did stairs a lot. We did this thing called a Boston, which is just hell. It's just full court sprints for 3 minutes.
Oh, really?
Oh, God. Yeah, no, it kills you. It doesn't sound bad, but then you do it and you get to 1 minute in, you're like, oh God, this is 3 minutes, it's really long. It's like when you hold a plank and you're like, oh, a minute's not that long, I can do it. And then you're like 30 seconds in, you're like, oh my God. It's one of those things.
Okay.
And it's just a whole different, so much more, I'm not going to say professional, but so much more like regimented, so much more time slots. You've got everything's set daily. Whereas JUCO, sometimes we didn't know what we'd do for the week. It'd switch up a lot, so.
Fair enough. So you're not going to be doing Bostons anytime soon in your free time, no?
No. I make my brother do them, and I made my girls do them. The girls I coach, I made them do one. They did not like me. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So reflecting now and thinking back, what 3 things or what things would you do differently if given the opportunity?
That's a tough question. I think I would have explored my options more. I think I kind of both cases, both JUCO and D2, I think I settled with the first option I got. And I think I could have explored more, and I think I could have had different opportunities if I actually did more research into them. I also think that I wish I didn't play post. It's nothing against being a post. I've played guard all my life, even though I'm tall. At Seven Oaks, I played guard, and Len let me, and I think that's where I was most valuable. And yeah, as soon as I got to JUCO and as soon as I got to Sioux Falls, I was put as a post because I was tall. And I wish I actually went, no, I want to try and play guard more. And I think another thing that goes along with that is personally, I could have been a lot fitter. I thought, especially transition to JUCO to D2, I thought, oh yeah, it'll be a similar kind of fitness level. And I kind of did the same kind of training I did when I was at JUCO, and then I get there and I'm like one of the least fit. And I was just, it was a shock. I was like, I worked so hard at JUCO, and yet I come here and I'm now the worst. Like, it's one of those things. I just feel like I could have done those three things so much better.
It's interesting. We spoke to a player from Spain, a player called Diamond, and he kind of had the same issue in terms of he was a big guard from a junior, and he went to 2 JUCOs and then he went to a D1, and because he was like 6'7", 6'8", and he was a really good guard, I know from when I met him, and because of his height and size, he ended up playing his whole college career in the post, and it really did affect him. So and that's kind of like why I asked the question about where you fit in the coach's system, because I think when you're being recruited or when you're looking at a lot of these programs, it's very important for you to ask that question and to be understand your role. Hey coach, where do you want me to play? What is my role in this team? And I guess if you're in a situation where you've got no other offers, you then decide, hey, well, I'm going to take this offer to go and spend the time, or I'm going to stay home and enjoy my time at home and play the position where I want to play. So yeah, it's a pretty tough situation to be put in. What's the best part of playing basketball in the States?
It's the people you meet and the places you get to go just through basketball in general. I was lucky enough to go to Hawaii, and I would never have, in my wildest dreams, imagined going to Hawaii, onto one of the most beautiful places I've ever been, all because my team went there to play 3 schools out there. And I had a whole week in Hawaii in November, which in Sioux Falls is knee-deep snow. So when you get to Hawaii, when it's really hot and you can go to the beach, it's just like a whole, and you get to do all these things as a team. And even though I haven't seen my roommate from freshman year for 3 years, I still talk to her, and I'm still friends with her to this day. So it's and I met my boyfriend at college, and all these things, you get to create friendships, and basketball is fun, and it should always be fun, and the friendships come with it, and that's probably the best part about basketball, is the people you meet.
Okay, I like that. How is it playing with the fans in both JUCO and D2? How did you find the fanfare? Because obviously playing in Surrey or whatever, you get 20 people maybe. So how did you deal with that kind of contrast?
So I played at the O2 with Seven Oaks, and that was a big one. That was crazy. And then when I did Euros in Dublin, we played Ireland, and the atmosphere in there was crazy. So I had some kind of little bits of experience with the fans, but JUCO not so much, but D2 more so. We had sold out stadium, the gym was sold out. We'd have all these people watching, and they'd call your name, you'd run on the floor, and it would just be whoa. But I get really like blindsided. Like if you're not inside the 4 lines, you don't exist. So like I didn't really hear that, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it because I'm kind of really focused, and when there's that many people you kind of have to be, otherwise you're gonna get lost in the moment, and that's when the mistakes happen and then you don't get to play. So you have to kind of be in the moment.
So you didn't get heckled? You didn't remember, hey, English, Pippi Longstocking, like, I don't know, something, no one gave you any crap? No
one really gave me anything from it, because you only would really hear it if I talked. But
okay.
I wasn't that loud. Surprisingly, I wasn't that loud.
Okay, fair enough. I like it. That's funny. Okay, so tell us about your reasons for leaving Seaford.
They are personal, because obviously if I could have finished my degree this year, I would have, and if I thought I was mentally capable of standing in the position I was in last year to finish my degree, then I would have done it. However, I was injured last year for a portion. I partially tore ligaments in my thumb, so I was out. But I still went to practices, still went to games, did everything I could to support my team. And the pressure from coaches and not really the players, mainly the coaches, to get back into full fitness and play again was extreme. It was as if my injury didn't exist, and I felt as though I was being almost forced to play where I could literally tear my thumb apart. And if I did that, it would be game over. I would have been out for years. So I made the decision to go with the doctors and listen to what they said and not spend extra money on getting a second opinion, to heal correctly and then come back when my time is right. And I think that's another reason I left, is because it was just so much pressure. It was constant. You need to be performing, otherwise you're not going to play, and I'm not going to give you your scholarship next year. I'll take everything you have away from you. You have to do this, or everything goes away. You're not working hard enough. And it was lots of, I don't want to be in an environment where my performance, obviously performance matters, but my work ethic should not be questioned. It should not be, if you don't do this once a week, I'm going to take your money away. Like, I just couldn't be in that environment for my own mental health. I think I would have gone a bit crazy. And it was just something I didn't want to deal with. So I decided to, do you know what? I'm done. I'm going to exit on my terms. So it's over. I'm not coming back.
Man, that must be tough. When you made that decision, or when you was making that decision, like what was the processes in terms of who did you speak to? Did you speak to people about it? Was it something isolated, or was it like a kind of like a spur of the moment thing, or was it something that's been happening over a while?
I think it was during season. I think it was quite like in the back of my mind. I wouldn't really think about it, but it would be one of those things, damn, I wish I could quit today. I wish I could leave, you know what I mean? But when I got home, finally, after all this quarantine stuff, and speaking to my coach, I was working out daily, working really hard, trying to get my fitness up. And he said one thing to me that was, where are you from again? And that's when it kind of snapped, because I was the only international student on the team. And the fact he didn't know where I was from, even though being with him for a year was quite shocking. So I think that's when I went, I'm not coming back, to my dad. And he went, are you serious? I went, yeah, I'm over it. I'm not coming back. So he was like, right, take your time to figure this out, sort of plan what you're doing. And I was like, right, I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. And once I got everything kind of in motion, and I've decided, I've set up everything that I'm going to do. I'm taking a year out and then going back to school, but online, so I can continue working. So it's a lot of, I just had to, before I told my coach, I set up what I was going to do for my future before I even mentioned it to my coach. and he didn't fight for me to stay, so it was pretty simple.
Okay. And I guess as it's fresh, as it's just kind of happening, I don't think there's enough time to kind of, backtrack, but as it stands now, do you wish, or do you think that you could have dealt with it a different way in terms of, not leaving, or are you, currently right now, like, hey, I'm happy I made the decision?
I'm really happy with what I've done. I am coaching a great group of under 16 girls for this year. So I've got teams on the go there. I am working where I want to work. It's for the career I want to go into. And it's going to allow me to get my degree once I do that. And then my aim is to go out and back to the States and teach special ed. And that is what I want to do. And that's what I'm working as. So it all kind of fits in, and I'm much happier now than I would be if I was back at school.
Okay, marvelous. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, so this side of the interview is more trivial questions, lighthearted stuff, and kind of helps our international students who do decide to go to Nebraska or South Dakota, kind of gives them like a heads up. All right, so what's the weather like in both those places?
So South Dakota is just above Nebraska, so they're basically the same. Winter, you'll hit minus 40 degrees Celsius with minus 60 degree wind chill, with snow up to your knees, and you are still forced to go to class because they don't cancel unless the wind chill, if you're out in the wind because it gets so cold, if you're out in the wind with exposed skin for 10 minutes, you can get frostbite. That's when they cancel school. But and then in the summer it gets ridiculously hot, so it's basically two extremes.
Okay, and how hot does it get during the summer? So Arizona, Phoenix, I know it gets like 110, 115, 120 sometimes. Does it get that hot?
I think it's up to maybe 100, 105, but not more than that.
Okay, cool. Great. So where's the best places to go? So, I'm about to pack my bags. I'm going to go to Nebraska. Where's the must-see destination?
Omaha Zoo is all right in Nebraska. And if you're going to go to Nebraska, you've got to go to Lincoln. It's like one of the big cities with where the Cornhuskers play. So that obviously Nebraska doesn't have any professional sports teams. It's all college. So if you want to go see a really great atmosphere, like football game, go to the University of Nebraska Lincoln. So that's a great place to go. And everyone out there is absolutely insane. Like Go Big Red is the chart everywhere. Everywhere is Go Big Red in Nebraska. And then if you're in Norfolk, which is where my school was, go to a little restaurant called El Rodeo. It's some of the best Mexican I've had. It's so good.
El Rodeo.
My boyfriend, El Rodeo.
Yeah.
My boyfriend drove from Minnesota to Nebraska for a 2-day trip and had El Rodeo every meal. So good.
It must be good if he's making that 2-day trip.
I know.
Man.
It was amazing.
Okay.
But yeah, and then South Dakota, it's nice. It's a nice little city. It's the biggest city in South Dakota, but it's not that big. There's a lot of things to do there, but I just didn't really go out much. I just kind of worked really hard because I had a lot of schoolwork. But there's some nice bars there. There's like if you go downtown, there's
21.
Over 21, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're, there's a really nice restaurant called Carnival. It's all like, they bring you meat on sticks.
Okay.
Like, so I don't like steak, but they brought other stuff. They had tons of steak, chicken, all these different like Brazilian cooked meats, like the way they cook them. And it's really good. Bit expensive, but it's really good.
Nice, okay. Best place to get trainers or sneakers. Are you a sneakerhead?
Not really. I'm not
Okay.
really that into shoes. I like Vans and I like Converse, but I don't really collect, like, I don't really buy a pair of Jordans just to wear them. No, I couldn't. I don't have money to spend on Jordans. I buy other things.
I got you. Makes
Mainly
sense.
food.
Makes sense. Okay. Best American holiday and why?
Thanksgiving,
Okay.
food.
Popular one, yeah. Yeah, you just said food. Okay.
Great.
Who did you spend Thanksgiving with in the States?
My first and second year, me and the international students had Thanksgiving dinner together at our coach's house. So that was really sweet. And then my junior year, I was in Hawaii for actual Thanksgiving. So we had Hawaiian Thanksgiving at a pub.
Okay.
With like, and I did like the food. And then when I got home back to Sioux Falls, I went to my boyfriend's family and we had Thanksgiving dinner there, which was nice.
Okay, nice, quaint little setup. Did you get homesick, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I got really homesick because I'd never been anywhere away from my family really, and I don't have a big family. There's just myself, my parents, my two brothers, and my grandma. And my granddad was around until Christmas of sophomore year. I did miss the funeral, I missed everything. So you do get homesick, but usually like every couple of weeks, depending on how much stuff I was getting sent, I'd get sent chocolates and British snacks and letters and pictures that my little brother drew, and kind of little things from home that you need, and they'd send them. Like I got sent Jaffa cakes, Cadbury's, stuff I couldn't actually get out. It's always food related. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, I was like, man, I'm just hearing chocolate, Jaffa cake. I'm like,
chocolate, Jaffa, yeah. And then I'd get letters and I had a whole wall like this size in my room, and it was full of like, when you like have a disposable camera and you take them to the picture shop and they print them off, like I had a whole wall full of those pictures just of the family. So it was just little things like that kept you going, like something to keep you sane. And then I spoke to my parents almost daily. Like I'd video call them. They'd be like, what do you want now? I'm like, oh, I'm just eating my dinner. What do you want? What you want to do? You want to talk about anything? How was your day? They'd be like, they're almost sick of me from calling them too much.
Speak to them more when you're away than when you're at home, right?
Yeah, basically.
That's hilarious. Right, last few questions before I let you go. Interesting question. And I think this might actually be a piece of the videos that I'm going to do, me trying to articulate properly. So when you're in college, both JUCO and D2, there's going to be a lot of distractions, you being away from home, and kind of having your own independence, real independence. There's going to be a lot of distractions. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of different people and personalities that you mix with, and there's going to be, drugs, alcohol, and boys. How did you deal with those distractions?
It's one of those things. Obviously, being from the UK, you get to drink at 18. And then my birthday's the end of May. So I had maybe 2 months of freedom before I was sent off to another country I couldn't drink in. And it was hard because I had friends who were 21 and they would go out and I would go out with them, but I was sober and I'd just be the mum of the group taking care of everybody. So it was hard to do all that, but you don't need all that stuff to still have a good time. Like you don't want to be absolutely wasted, puking everywhere, dying, and you don't remember half the night. I'd much rather have like sober, have a great time, spend time with my friends, and obviously there's going to be drugs and alcohol offered to you, and you just have to think about the reason you're out there. The reason I was out there was to play basketball. I was given an opportunity to get my school paid for and everything I wanted to do paid for to play basketball. And I didn't want to mess that up. I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to lose what I had worked so hard to gain. You just have to remember the purpose why you're out there. Go out, have fun, but don't do the stuff that you're not allowed to do.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd imagine it'd be tough, man, especially like you said, in the situation where you got friends who are older and, you know, maybe not to get wasted as you say, but maybe just to, you know, get like a little buzz or just to be a part of what's going on. And I would imagine that's hard to kind of abstain from that fully in those situations. And what about, you know, on the boy front? I know you got a boyfriend, so you don't need to say anything incriminating. But like, what is that like in terms of young woman? You know, you've got the accent, and I'm sure just as much as it is for the women that like the English guys, what's it like, you know, on the other side of the coin where, you know, I'm sure there's a bunch of guys, you know, interested.
It was, to start with, it was a lot of, oh wow, you're from England, that's so cool, I love your accent. And you kind of get used to that bit after a while. It's like, yeah, thanks. I know, it's great, isn't it? And then it's when you get to know the people who aren't bothered by the way I sound or where I'm from.
Okay.
Like, my boyfriend did not care that I was English at all. He does not care. He says I sound stupid, and he says that I say things wrong. But we have arguments about that all the time because he says words that are wrong, in my opinion. But
well, the language is called English. I have this argument every day. It's called English, and the English person coming from England would know what the English word is, and then
exactly.
Like, no, that's, I'm like, okay.
I know. I call American English simplified English, but that's just my own personal opinion. So yeah, like, boys are boys. Boys in college just want one thing, and don't give it to them. It's my advice. If you're actually going to get into a serious relationship, find someone that's there for you, not the accent or the way you look, etc., or where you're from. Like, your personality and stuff is more important. Him and I bonded over, we're massive nerds. We like all kinds of computer games and things like Star Wars and all that stuff. We're really into our nerdy culture. So we really bonded over that. And
sorry to hear about
he played
that.
Basketball too. What?
Okay. So sorry to hear about that, but no. Okay. All right. So finding a bond and just kind of, you know, keeping them at arm's distance. Understand the motives of the individual, I guess, is a big one. Okay. Last big question is, what advice would you give to recruits, to, you know, those international students that are coming over? What would you tell them?
I'd say start looking early. This is something you can't leave to the last minute. Otherwise you're gonna not make it, or you're gonna end up at a school where you don't fit. And I'd also say, don't believe everything that the coach is telling you. You've got to take everything with a pinch of salt, and you have to speak to everyone in the team to really understand what's going on. Because some people are going to lie to you saying, oh yeah, you'll play 40 minutes a game. You don't believe them, because it never works out like that. Especially for freshmen going into 4-year schools, you're not gonna play much. It's just how it goes.
I like that. I should have asked you before, but what questions should a recruit, you know, a prospective student ask the coach? What are good questions to know?
You have to be really brutally honest with the coach you're talking to. So my first question to my JUCO coach was, will it be all paid for? Because as I could not afford even a partial scholarship, I couldn't afford to front that cost. So even though it may seem embarrassing, it may seem like you just there to get the school for free, it's something you have to ask, because if you're going in, oh, I really like this school, it's great, and then you find out down the road that it's only a partial scholarship and you can't afford the rest of it, you're gonna have to say no to it if you can't afford it. So you have to be brutally honest with your coach, and obviously speak to the players. That's definitely one of the most important parts, because they know what it's really like in the school. They know what the coach is like when he's not being the salesman that they have to be in order to get people to join, and they know how tough it's going to be and what the league's like, etc. So you have to ask the players more questions, and I think you should ask the coach.
Okay. Hey, that's great. I think that's the first time we've had someone like really emphasize talking to the people on the team.
Yeah.
And I think, it makes sense. You know, those are the guys, and hopefully you get individuals that are honest and that are, you know, going to try and be truthful and not kind of try and chase you away because they're scared you're going to get those minutes, or you know, they're just going to lie because the coach wants them to lie on their behalf. So talking to the teammates is I think is a really good solution. Jade, thank you very much for joining us today. It has been amazing hearing your journey and stuff. You know, they're playing at different levels, and I think it's very brave to, you know, I think it's very brave to say to yourself, right, hey, this situation isn't working, and I'm going to change and follow my mind to do something else. So, you know, there's a lot of people that like stay in situations that they're not happy in, or, you know, hey, I'm going to ride it out. And for you to know your own mind and say, hey, look, this is what I'm going to do regardless, and find my own path. I think that it takes a lot of courage to do that, and being able to stand on your own convictions and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. So, hey, I commend you. And thank you for coming to hang out with us today.
Thank you. Hey, my name's Jade. Thank you for watching EuroStepping. Whatever you do, make sure it makes you happy.
Appreciate you watching the EuroStepping.
I want to thank everybody for watching EuroStepping.
Watching the EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
You've been watching the EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
EuroStepping.
You've been watching the EuroStepping, a great podcast show hosted by Coach D.